Hello fellow book nerds, Emmy Walker here to do my September wrap-up. As predicted, I did not read as many books as I anticipated. I think I didn't even read, I think I read maybe one of the books that was even on my TBR. I read a couple of others that kind of pulled to me otherwise, but still I read a total of 2.5 books technically. I started one in August and I finished it in September, and then I read 2 more smaller books with my son at night, and so total of 5 finished books in September. The 2 books I finished with my son were both Roald Dahl books, and the first is George's Marvelous Medicine, and then the second my son actually got a hold of and ripped the cover off, and that was Mr. Fantastic Fox, or Fantastic Mr. Fox, sorry. But yeah, as you can see, he ripped the cover off, so I had to kind of hold on to it so that I could show you what it looks like, but yeah, I dropped this one. So, yeah, so those are the 2 I finished with my son. Here we go. And yeah, they were both very interesting, very, you know, doll-esque, and I think I enjoyed this one more. I haven't given them star ratings yet. I actually didn't even put them on Goodreads yet, but if I'd have to pick right now, I'd say I'd give this one a 3 and this one a 4. The next book I finished was the book I started in August and then finished in September, and that was The Golem and the Gini by Helene Wecker. And this book, I enjoyed the second half more than the first half, more so because the first half was filled with much more historical fiction aspects. A lot of it was introducing new characters and getting to know those new characters so that you could understand their point in the story later on, which was a lot of build-up for me. But Helene Wecker is a very good writer, and she really does pull you into the story, particularly for me at the second half. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I feel like if it were a poorly written story, I would have given it less, but because that's of course obviously, but because I didn't enjoy the first half, I feel like I should give it less stars, but I only didn't like the beginning half because it was historical fiction, not because of the poor writing, if that makes any sense. So I didn't want to give it a bad star rating because of something. It's like reading a book you know you're not going to like and then judging it based off of you already know you're not going to like something. Does that make sense? I don't know. Next up was a book that I actually did not anticipate reading. It wasn't on my TBR, and I didn't expect to read it anytime soon, but the author is actually coming to Pittsburgh in October, on October 8th, I believe, and a couple of friends from the bookstore have invited me to tag along, so I figured I should pick up at least one of her books before doing that, and that was Eleanor Park by Rainbow Rowell, and I really, really enjoyed this book. I don't read a whole lot of contemporary YA. I wish I would, because I read everything back in the beginning of the year, and I really enjoyed that, and I really love this too. I think I need to get more into the contemporary, especially when I'm just feeling like a nice, light, happy love read. And I know not all contemporary YA is going to be happy and put a smile on your face, but I feel like at some point in every contemporary YA you're going to feel the butterflies and feel the feels, and I think sometimes you just need to feel the feels, and this was one of those books that I really felt the feels. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I can't even remember why I demoted it down to 5. I think maybe it was based off of my, you know, the ending, I guess. I can't remember, so I'm not even going to try to remember. But either way, this is a great story, and I really enjoyed the personalities of both Eleanor and Park and just how they kind of grew together. That's what it was. The relationship seemed really strange how it started. I felt like there should have been a more gradual clicking, I guess, but it seemed like I don't know, it just seemed very sudden, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, either way, I really enjoyed this book, and I would recommend it. And finally, I finished The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, and this I picked up back in July, and I read the first of the 5 novellas, and then I just could not get into the other ones. My biggest problem with the Throne of Glass series is Selena, I can't remember how to say her name, but she's such a snot, and I've said this before. I don't mind her as much in the Throne of Glass series as I had hated her in these. I feel like her time in the Endovier, I think is the work camp, which she kind of beat some of the snot out of her, but she still has that, I don't know, that personality. I know that if she and I met, I don't think we would get along very well. Maybe because we're similar, I don't know, because I'm sure I'm a snot too, but because of that reason, I had a hard time getting into it. I particularly liked the last novella because it was something I had wanted to know about since reading The Throne of Glass, I'd like to know about that part of her history, and how she officially got to the work camp. And is it actually a work camp? I'm not sure if it's a work camp, but and Dovier. Anyway, but so there are 5 novellas, obviously, if you're not familiar with this, and because Queen of Shadows came out, I have been hearing a lot of things that if you are going to read Queen of Shadows, you should read this one first, because there's a lot of references to her past, and I wanted to get through that before I picked up Queen of Shadows. Anyway, so I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. So there you have it, my September wrap-up. Sorry if it got a little crazy there. I tend to go off on a tangent sometimes when I'm not focusing on the book itself, and my mind is kind of all over the place lately. Anyway, but let me know down below if you enjoyed these books, if you read them as well. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. All right, see you later, book nerds!